as I'm going.
I see. Okay.
Which is kind of cool because it gets the process done, I guess, faster.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we got our main groove.
That's good. Is this kind of a default drum thing you set up, or?
No, I just took a kick drum sample and a snare sample and just put them up. Just they're individual one shots, by the way, not like a loop.
I see.
So just real quick, so people know the difference. A one shot is a single sound. So like that cat you heard in the background right now, that would be considered a one shot. That meow. Whereas like an entire loop would be something that continuously plays over and over and over again.
I
like
see.
A longer phrase, basically. Whether that's rhythmically or, chords or whatever.
Okay. I was really vibing with that. I really liked how that sounded.
Yeah, and so because we have that excitement and we have our time down, the next step is definitely our hi-hat. Now, the important thing about our hi-hat is that our hi-hat is really there to give push and feel to the song.
Oh, okay.
So when I'm thinking of it, what I'm thinking of is, okay, when we have our hi-hat, it's electronic drums, so they're perfect already. Like, they're always going to be in time. And we, at this point, want to get them out of time a little bit. And the way we do that without needing to, adjust every single one, what we're going to do is we're going to put them all in time, and then we're going to add a delay on it.
Oh, but a super slight delay, huh?
No. So
no.
No, it doesn't necessarily have to be a super slight delay.
Oh.
And the reason is because I'll write the hi-hat part usually, and then I'll put the delay on it. From there, I'll actually bounce it in place, and then I'll use that as my sample.
Oh, okay.
So I don't really have to deal with effects. In the long term, or in the long run down the line in any song, the biggest issue that I come up with as an electronic music producer is that I have maybe 20 tracks up, and each track has like 20 different effects on it, and then my computer at a certain point is just going to give out. So in order to get through that, you just bounce out all your stuff, and then you just use those as samples, and you just sample your samples. And eventually you have a big enough library to where you could just choose from there. All right, so let me just get these hi-hats.
So you set the hi-hat.
So when I put a hi-hat down, I'll usually start off with putting them in eighth notes.
Okay.
And so once I put them in flat eighth notes, I will usually then just start taking away from that, depending on the beat. So I've been messing around with it right now while we've been talking. And so right now I have... And so this kind of song I could already hear, like, if I wanted a rapper to rap over it, that'd be a cool idea. If I didn't want any vocalists on it and just put in samples of people vocalizing, I could do that too. So this can go a lot of different directions at this point. And now I usually do one of two things. I'll usually either write something, get an instrument going with Massive. So I use Massive from Contact to write a lot of like my melodies or my main lines and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, they have really quality VST instruments or virtual instruments. And so at this point, what I'll end up doing is I'm going to be playing just random stuff on. Did you say it was an E?
E minor, G major.
Okay. So I don't know if you can hear but I kind of have just a sine wave going.
I can hear it.
Okay. And right now I'm just messing around, trying to find stuff. So, at this point, I'm trying to figure out something very simple, because I already know I'm going to build on top of this.
Okay.
So, having a lot of stuff, like when you're writing the main part of a song, you have a lot of elements, but all of those elements should be sparse.
I
if
see.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, you don't have to make it really complicated, which is what I like. I kind of got this from when we were studying about African music. How when you would work out in the field, everyone would kind of play a different rhythm, but it was a very simple rhythm. Each person had a very simple rhythm.
Right.
And so when you combined all these simple rhythms together, you got something that was complex and interesting.
Sure.
And that's basically what we're trying to replicate here.
Okay.
So rather than trying to play something like really intense, I'll probably play something like...
We'll get some layers going on.
Exactly. It's not going to sound anything too exciting, but then when you hear it with the track, it's going to be like, oh, this added another flavor, another element, something else to get excited about.
So build layers. Let's build layers on it then. Let's do this.
All right. There we go. That's what it's going to be.
Good.
All right, give me a second. Let me just record that. And going back in with like the theme of the podcast, I am not a very good pianist or synthesizer player, whatever you want to call it. So I love using Logic because I could just go back and fix all my mistakes.
Logic is beautiful.
Oh, yeah. And since that's kind of like a little main line, or a little kind of like a little main melodic line, what I'll usually try to do is I'll go in and do a quick adjustment. So a little trick that I always use is I use Isotope's Imager 2. Also not sponsored by Isotope, but I would love to be one day. And basically what I like to do is I'll open a bus, and then I'll send my Ozone Imager. Oh, I think it's free too, by the way. But
no promises.
If you go to Isotope's website, you could always look it up.
Okay.
But anyway, so what this does is it widens the sound, or it'll widen your sound. So doing this in the beginning is really important because every layer that you put on is affecting the audio quality, which is something that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And I'm looking to make that not so loud. Just going to put a little bit of reverb on there. Space Design is my favorite reverb, by the way. It's just such a good reverb. I don't know why. I always feel like I need to buy a reverb, and then I just go back to Space Design. Another good thing about reverb, if you ever have a sound that is sounding really harsh in the mix, you can always turn down that sound and then put a little bit of reverb, and it kind of just smooths it out a little bit. So by adding that last sound that we added, it to me now it almost has like this childish quality to it, almost like an innocence, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you could feel that.
No, totally. It's almost video gamey.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I could definitely see it as video gaming. At this point, I would say if you want to record over what I just sent you.
Let's keep building it, and then I'll just go with it.
All right. So at this point, all right, for the sake of time and sanity, we are just going to get a bass line from Splice.
All right, we'll use a bass line from Splice. We'll use a bass line from Splice.
And if it's not a good bass line, I'll just sample it and cut it up and put it back together again. Because that's what I do with everything. I just cut it up and put it back together. Let me see. Okay, so we're in the key of G major.
Okay.
So basically what I'll do is I'll just go into Splice and then I'll put parameters. So we'll do loops and then bass line. And you know what the cool thing about this is, though?
What's that?
I don't have to look for a genre at this point.
Oh, because we already have everything set up.
Yeah.
We just gotta look for what sounds nice.
Exactly. So now, since the actual loop and the song is in 160 BPM, I have a choice. I can find samples in 160 and 80.
That's right.
And so I'm always thinking about that.
I think we should do one in 80. I think that'd be sound. It make it seem. It make it go back to more the laid back feel we're going for.
Yeah, because in your basses you have a lot of different type of basses that you can use. So you have your 808s, which come from the early 808 machines, drum machines that they used to have.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but sometimes can be overwhelming depending on the track. No samples found at 80. Oh no. So it looks like we have no samples at 80 and we have no samples at 160. But this is okay. The reason it's okay is because in Logic we have time stretch.
Okay.
So now, since I haven't found a sample in G or E minor, because I'm not looking in E minor right now.
Right.
I could just find a sample that's close to that tempo and then time stretch it. So even something at 90, finding the samples is what takes the longest. All right, so we found a bass line.
Sounds like it's a little fast though.
Yep, it's actually slow.
Oh.
It's at 78 BPM. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch that out just a smidgen. Yeah, so it's pretty funny. I'm actually using more of a funky-ish kind of a bass line.
Huh.
Which is really different from everything else we're doing in the song.
I'm sure it'll sound good.
Oh, no, it'll sound good. All right, there we go.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah, and the cool thing is actually the bass is just a smidgen off in certain places, which you can choose to fix if you want to, or you can actually choose to leave it a little bit off, and it kind of gives it more of a human kind of jam feel.
That's an interesting take on a bass. Normally, basses need to be exactly in the pocket or pretty damn close to that.
Well, and see, the thing is that we have, when we say in the pocket, depending on who you're talking to, that pocket's in a different place. So, for example, like if I'm playing bass and I'm in a jazz band, I'm gonna probably try to play a little either more behind the beat, rather